Tonight is the 21st of August, and this is the second night we're talking in the Sutta Nipata. Now we come to chapter 2, Chula Vaga, minor chapter. The sutta is Ratana Sutta. This Ratana Sutta is also found in the Khuddaka Nikaya of the Khuddaka Nikaya. This is one of the protections. Whatever beings are assembled here, whether terrestrial or celestial, let all such beings be happy. Let them moreover attentively listen to what is said. Therefore, O beings, do you all pay attention, diffuse loving kindness towards mankind, who day and night bring offerings to you. Protect them, therefore, with earnestness. Whatever treasure there be either here or elsewhere, or whatever precious jewel is in the heavenly worlds, yet there is none comparable to the Tathagata. This precious jewel is in the Buddha. By this truth may there be peace. The sage of the Sakyans is of a tranquil mind. Realize that cessation which is passionless, immortal and excellent. There is nothing equal to that state. This precious jewel is in the Dhamma. By this truth may there be peace. The Supreme Buddha prays pure meditation, which gives instantaneous results. There is nothing equal to that meditation. This precious jewel is in the Dhamma. By this truth may there be peace. 8 individuals are praised by good people. They constitute the 4 pairs. They are the disciples of the Buddha, worthy of offerings. Whatever is offered to them yields abundant fruit. This precious jewel is in the Sangha. By this truth may there be peace. Those who are freed from desires are well established in the teaching of Gautama with firm mind. They have attained to that which should be attained. Having plunged into immortal Nibbana, they enjoy the peace, having obtained it for nothing. This precious jewel is in the Sangha. By this truth may there be peace. Just as a city gate fixed in the earth is not shaken by the winds from the 4 directions, even so do I declare to be a good man he who thoroughly perceives the noble truths. This precious jewel is in the Sangha. By this truth may there be peace. Those who comprehend clearly the noble truths, well taught by him who is endowed with profound wisdom, however exceedingly heedless they may be, they do not take birth for the 8th time. This precious jewel is in the Sangha. By this truth may there be peace. Stop here for a moment. This one, if one clearly comprehends the noble truths, then he's a Sotapanna, at least. So a Sotapanna will have a maximum of 7 rebirths, not the 8th time. 3 conditions are forsaken by him at the instant of acquisition of seeing, dasana, namely identity view, doubt, attachment to rules and vows or ceremonies, should there be any. He is also absolutely freed. Here it says 4 states of misery. There should be 3, and is incapable of committing the 6 crimes. This precious jewel is in the Sangha. By this truth may there be peace. Stop here for a moment. So again you can see here this later addition. Originally 3 states, 3 woeful planes of existence. Now they say 4 because of the adding the Asura. And then actually there should be 5. The most heaviest crimes. But here they say 6. They added 1 more, is upholding wrong views. The first 5 is purposely injuring Buddha till blood flows. Then killing an Arahant. Then killing mother. And 4th, killing father. And 5th, dividing the Sangha. Whatever evil deed he commits, either by his body, speech or mind, is incapable of concealing it. For it has been said that such an act is impossible for one who has seen the path. This precious jewel is in the Sangha. By this truth may there be peace. As a clump of trees whose tops are blossoming during the first heat of the summer months, so the sublime Dhamma leading to Nibbana was taught for the highest goal. This precious jewel is in the Sangha. By this truth may there be peace. The Excellent One, knower of the excellent, giver of the excellent, and bringer of excellence, has expounded the excellent Dhamma. This precious jewel is in the Buddha. By this truth may there be peace. With the old extinct, nothing new to be reproduced, the mind detached from future birth, they have destroyed the seeds of existence. Their desires do not spring up again, and those wise ones go out even as this lamp. This precious jewel is in the Sangha. By this truth may there be peace. Whatever beings are assembled here, whether terrestrial or celestial, let us salute the Buddha. The Tathagata is honored by gods and men. May there be peace. Whatever beings are assembled here, whether terrestrial or celestial, let us salute the Dhamma. The Tathagata is honored by gods and men. May there be peace. Whatever beings are assembled here, whether terrestrial or celestial, let us salute the Sangha. The Tathagata is honored by gods and men. May there be peace. So this Ratana Sutta we often chant, but in the Thai tradition we chant only 6 paragraphs, 6 verses. But here there's how many? 17. This is Sri Lanka, and they chant 16, 17. So this protection parita that people like to chant for their hoping for peace. Now we come to one of the important suttas. This is 2.2, Amaganda Sutta. This Maganda Sutta, the Buddha related, actually concerns his previous teacher, the Buddha Kassapa. Our Bodhisattva, according to the suttas, only met one Buddha, not 24 Buddhas, as later books say. This ascetic Tissa, he was not happy with the Buddha Kassapa for eating meat. You can see from this sutta, quite a number of external ascetics, they are vegetarians, but not the Buddha and the monks. So the Tissa says, millet, singular beans and peas, edible leaves and fruits, the fruit of any creeper, the virtuous who eat these obtain justly, do not tell lies out of sensuous delight. O Kassapa, you who eat any food given by others, which is well prepared, nicely arranged, pure and appealing, he who enjoys such food made with rice eats stench, meaning rotting flesh. O Brahmana, although you say that the charge of stench does not apply to you whilst eating rice with well-prepared fowl, yet I inquire the meaning of this from you. Of what kind is your stench? Up here for a moment. So you see, because the Buddha and his disciples, they have a very good reputation because they keep their precepts very pure and they practice very well. So they get a lot of offerings, very good food, various types of food. And then this external ascetic Tissa, he blamed the Buddha for that, for enjoying his food. But this one is not a person's choosing, depending on our karma, whether we get good food or not so good food. It all depends on our karma. So here he says the Buddha eats stench, but the Buddha says this is not stench. So he asked the Buddha to explain what type of stench is yours. The Buddha Kassapa said, taking life, beating, wounding, binding, stealing, lying, deceiving, worthless knowledge, adultery, This is stench, not the eating of meat. In this world, those individuals who are unrestrained in sensual pleasures, who are greedy for sweet things, who are associated with impure actions, who are of nihilistic views, that means annihilationist, crooked, difficult to follow. This is stench, not the eating of meat. In this world, those who are rude, arrogant, backbiting, treacherous, unkind, excessively egoistic, miserly, and do not give anything to anybody, this is stench, not the eating of meat. Anger, pride, obstinacy, antagonism, deceit, envy, boasting, excessive egoism, association with the immoral, this is stench, not the eating of meat. Those who are of bad morals, refuse to pay their debts, slanderous, deceitful in their dealings, pretentious, those who in this world, being the vilest of men, commit such wrong things, this is stench, not the eating of meat. Those persons who in this world are uncontrolled towards living beings, who are bent on injuring others, having taken their belongings, immoral, cruel, harsh, disrespectful, this is stench, not the eating of meat. Those who attack these living beings either out of greed or of hostility and are always bent upon evil, go to darkness after death and fall headlong into woeful states. This is stench, not the eating of meat. Abstaining from fish and meat, nakedness, shaving of the head, matted hair, smearing with ashes, wearing rough deer skins, attending the sacrificial fire, none of the various penances in the world performed for unhealthy ends, neither incantations, oblations, sacrifices, nor seasonal observances purify a person who has not overcome his doubts. Stop here for a moment. So this is a list of the external sect ascetic practices where they do all kinds of practice all kinds of austerities. So you can see from here, abstaining from fish and meat. The Buddha says they practice all this. Does not purify a person who has not overcome his doubts. So it's very clear from here, the Buddhas, they are not vegetarians. He who lives with his senses guarded and conquered and is established in the Dhamma, delights in uprightness and gentleness, who has gone beyond attachments and has overcome all sorrows, that wise man does not cling to what is seen and heard. Thus the Buddha Kassapa preached this again and again. That ascetic who was well versed in the Vedic hymns understood it. The sage who is free from defilements, non-attached and difficult to follow, uttered this discourse in beautiful stanzas. Thus, having listened to the well-spoken words of the Buddha, who is free from defilements which end all misery, he worshipped the Tathagata with humble mind and requested to be admitted into the Sangha at that very place. So you see this, after the Buddha explained to him what really is stench, not just the eating of meat by itself. Then, having understood, he asked to go forth under the Buddha. 2.3 Hiri Sutta. Hiri is usually comes Hiri Ottappa. It's a sense of shame, having a sense of shame. The Buddha delivered this discourse to a Brahmin of Savatthi who wished to know the answers to the following 4 questions. With whom should one not associate? With whom should one associate? What brings happiness? What is the sweetest condition? And Buddha said, know this well, that he is not my friend who behaves shamelessly and who despises his friend while saying, I am your friend, without undertaking any work he can do for him. The wise know him as a mere talker, but not a doer, one who uses pleasant words to friends, but does not act accordingly. He is not a friend who is always anxiously alert to a conflict and who is only looking out for defects. He is indeed a friend who is incapable of being separated from you by others, like a son on his father's breast. One who bears human responsibility which yields good result, who cultivates that cause which gives joy and brings praise and happiness, having drunk the sweetness of solitude and also the sweetness of tranquility, one becomes free from fear and wrongdoing while drinking the sweetness of the joy of truth. So initially the Buddha says what is a false friend, what is a true friend, and then what brings praise and happiness, and then what brings the joy of truth. 2.4 Mahamangala Sutta. This sutta is also found in the Khuddaka Nikaya definition of the highest blessing. Thus have I heard. Once the Buddha, this one also one of the suttas we chant. Once the Buddha was living near Savatthi in the Jeta Grove at Anathapindika's monastery. Then one beautiful night, a certain Devata, having illumined the whole Jeta Grove with surpassing splendor, came to the Buddha and making salutation stood to one side and addressed the Buddha in the following verses. Many gods and men wishing for well-being have pondered over those things that constitute the highest blessings. Tell us, what is the highest blessing? The Buddha said, not to associate with fools, but to associate with the wise, and to honor those who are worthy of honor. This is the highest blessing. Stop here for a moment. Fools and wise in the Buddha's teachings may be different from fools and wise in the worldly sense. The worldly sense, a fool is a person who doesn't know. Wise is a person who knows. But in the Buddha's teaching, a fool is one who does not practice the Dhamma. A wise person is practicing the Dhamma and going off for a good rebirth, whereas the fool is going to the woeful plains of rebirth. To reside in a suitable environment, to have done meritorious deeds in the past, and to set oneself on the right course, this is the highest blessing. Stop here for a moment. A suitable environment is one where you can practice the Dhamma, where you can listen to the Dhamma, and ideally if you have monks to do dana to teach you the Dhamma also, and you have monasteries to go and keep the 8 precepts and learn the Dhamma and learn to meditate, etc. So like a Buddhist country would be the best environment. So if you have done meritorious deeds in the past, then this life you will have a lot of blessings. And then thirdly, to set yourself on the right course, that means on the course of Dhamma, is the highest blessing. Number 4. This one is Bahu Sachancha Sipancha Vinayocha Susikito. Bahu Sachancha is much learning. Satcha is truths. Bahu is much truths. Much learning of the truths. Sipancha is knowledge. Some people say knowledge of a craft. It's just knowledge. Highly trained in discipline and pleasant speech. This is the highest blessing. This much learning is very important. Much learning of the Dhamma. If you learn the Dhamma much, then you know how to conduct yourself. You know how to lead a skillful life. And you won't regret at the end of life. A lot of people, they don't know the Dhamma, and then they don't practice according to the Dhamma. At the end of life, most people, they regret they didn't do a good job of their life. Then Sipancha, knowledge, can be knowledge of the craft or general knowledge. Nowadays, we need knowledge because this is a very dangerous world. We eat also have to eat wisely, otherwise you get cancer. And then we live also have to live wisely. Associate with friends also have to associate wisely, otherwise, especially girls, they make friends with wrong people, especially wrong boyfriends, and the boyfriend might even sell them off. and then train in discipline and the Vinaya, and then the precepts and pleasant speech. Supporting one's father and mother, cherishing wife and children, and unconflicting occupation. This is the highest blessing. Supporting father and mother, we know, cherishing wife and children, the family, and unconflicting occupation. That means your job, your livelihood. You don't have conflicts with other people. It's a peaceful job, not like some occupations. You have to have a lot of conflicts. Then Dhanancha, this is generosity, dutiful conduct, helping relatives, and blameless actions. This is the highest blessing. Generosity, we know, dana, dhanancha, chariyacha, nyatakanancha, sangaho, anavajjani, kammani, blameless action. That means our kamma is blameless. Ceasing and abstaining from evil, abstention from intoxicating drinks and drugs, and diligence in virtue. This is the highest blessing. Abstaining from evil means keeping the precepts, and abstention from intoxicants, and practicing the virtues, moral conduct. Reverence, humility, contentment, gratitude, and timely hearing of the Dhamma. This is the highest blessing. Reverence, knowing how to give respect to those worthy of respect, and then practicing humility, practicing contentment. Contentment is very important because a lot of people are not happy because they are not contented. If you are contented, then whatever we have, we are contented with. You don't feel you are lacking anything. But if you are not contented, you might even be a millionaire, but you're still not happy. Having gratitude also is a good quality, and hearing the Dhamma. Forbearance, obedience, association with exemplars of the Dhamma life, and participation in religious discussions. This is the highest blessing. Sometimes people say patience or forbearance, obedience, and then association with those who practice the Dhamma, and discussion of Dhamma also very important, because sometimes you listen to Dhamma or you read the books, certain things you don't understand. When you discuss with other people, there might be those who know more than you, then it will clarify your doubts. Self-control, perception of the noble truths, and the realization of Nibbana. This is the highest blessing. If one's mind is sorrowless, stainless and secure, and is not disturbed when affected by worldly vicissitudes, this is the highest blessing. Those who thus acting are everywhere unconquered, attain happiness everywhere. To them these are the highest blessings. So this is a very good sutta. Actually, this sutta was spoken to a deva. Devas also want blessings, not only human beings want blessings. And even what we call bomo. Bomo is, how do you say, gong tao shi. They even go to monasteries to offer dana, so they have the more power. Shaman. So this, if we practice all these things, we will have a lot of blessings. And not only having blessings, we will be very safe and secure. When you have blessings, then the devas also will look after you. 2.5 Suchiloma Sutta. This sutta is also found in the Samyutta Nikaya 10.3. This discourse is a little similar to the Alavaka Sutta. Thus have I heard. Once when the Buddha was spending some time at Gaya on a stone couch in the abode of the Yakka, Suchiloma, the Yakas, Kara and Suchiloma were passing nearby, and Kara asked, "Is this man an ascetic?" Suchiloma replied, "He is no ascetic, but merely feigning his appearance. However, I'll make sure." Then Suchiloma went up to the Buddha and tried to press himself against his body, but the Buddha drew back from his touch. Thereupon Suchiloma asked the Buddha, "Ascetic, are you afraid of me?" The Buddha replied, "Friend, I am not afraid of you, but your touch is unpleasant." And Suchiloma said, "I shall ask you a question, ascetic. If you fail to answer, I'll drive you out of your mind, or tear out your heart, or take you by your feet and fling you to the other side of the Ganges." And the Buddha said, "I do not see, friend, in the world a person who could do so. However, friend, ask any question you like." And Suchiloma asked, "From where do passion and hatred spring? From where do discontentment, attachment and terror spring? From where do evil speculations arise and harass the mind as do boys a crow?" And the Buddha said, "Passion and hatred spring from egoism. So do discontentment, attachment and terror. Speculative thoughts also spring therefrom and harass the mind as do boys a crow. They spring from desire, are in oneself like the shoots which spring from the branches of a banyan tree. They are attached to sense desires like a maluva creeper which overgrows the jungle. Listen, Yaka, those who know the source overcome it. They cross the flood which is difficult to cross, which has never been crossed before, and are no more reborn." So here, all these evil states come from the egoism. Because of the ego, we have passion, we want to satisfy our sensual desires, and then we have hatred when we cannot satisfy our wants. And then discontentment, attachment, fear, stray thoughts and all these things. 2.6 Dhammacharya Sutta. Charya is conduct, I think. Conduct. According to Dhamma. If one renounces household life, becomes a recluse, and leads a pure and celibate life, this is the worthiest jewel. However, if he be by nature garrulous or talkative, and brutishly derives pleasure from injuring others, the life of such a one becomes unprofitable, and his defilements increase. A monk who delights in quarreling, being veiled by delusion, does not understand the Dhamma preached by the Buddha, even when explained. Led by ignorance, he does not understand that injuring those whose minds are well composed is misconduct that leads to a woeful state. That kind of monk certainly will experience misery after death, going to places of suffering from birth to birth, from darkness to darkness. Like a cesspool, shithole, filled over a number of years, such an impure one is difficult to be purified. Monks, if you should know such a one who is attached to the worldly life, having unwholesome desires, ulterior motives, and evil modes of behavior, ostracize and oust him, all being united. As dust, sweep him out. As refuse, remove him. Then remove those hollow ones who, not being monks, yet pretend to be so. Eject those possessing the aforementioned undesirable traits of character. Be pure and associate with the pure. Being mindful, united, arise and put an end to suffering. So this last part, the Buddha says, if a monk in a monastery is not practicing as a monk, but is a hypocrite, pretending to be a monk, then the Buddha said, don't let him stay, throw him out of the monastery. The seventh sutta, Brahmana Dhammika Sutta. Thus have I heard. Once the Buddha was living near Savatthi in the Jeta Grove at Anathapindika's monastery. Then a great many wealthy Brahmins of Kosala, decrepit, elderly, old, advanced in years, arrived at old age, went to where the Buddha was residing, and were highly pleased with seeing him, having exchanged friendly speech, causing delight and worthy of being remembered. They sat down on one side and asked the Buddha, Venerable Gautama, are the Brahmins of the present day found engaged in the Brahmin duties of the ancient Brahmins? And the Buddha said, the Brahmins of the present day are not indeed found engaged in the Brahmin duties of the ancient Brahmins. And they said, it will be good of you, Gautama, if you will explain them, if it is not inconvenient to you. And the Buddha said, the sages of ancient times, possessed of self-control and restrained mind, abandoning the fivefold sensual pleasures, led a life for their own welfare. The Brahmins of ancient times had no cattle, neither gold nor corn. Learning was wealth and corn for them. They protected this divine treasure. Whatever food prepared for them was offered at the door. They considered that it was prepared through devotion to those seekers. Prosperous people from the provinces and outside countries worshipped those Brahmins with garments of various colors, beds and dwellings. The Brahmins were neither injured nor conquered. They were protected by virtue. No one ever opposed them at the entrance of any household. Formerly, the Brahmins practiced celibacy from their youth up to their 48th year. They were engaged in search of learning and good conduct. The Brahmins cohabited not with another's wife, nor did they buy a wife. Being brought by mutual love to love together, they were pleased with each other. The Brahmins cohabited not except with a wife whose menstrual discharge had ceased, and at no other time but the right time. Stop here for a moment. So in the years gone by, the Brahmins were the ascetic caste. So up to the first 48 years, they practiced the holy life, begging for their food, have no property and all that. And then after 48 years old, if they want, they can marry, choose another Brahmin girl they like, and then if they have sex, it's only for the purpose of having a child, not other purpose. They praise chastity, morality, integrity, amiability, penance, gentleness, non-violence and forbearance. If there was any Brahmin of great influence who was the noblest of them, even he was chaste and did not even in dreams indulge in sexual intercourse. Here some wise men, following the Brahmin's precepts, praise chastity, morality and forbearance, having begged for rice, beds, cloth, butter, oil, and collecting them by fair means. They offered such objects as these for sacrifice, and at the sacrifice they did not kill cows. The cows by means of which medicinal drugs are produced are our great friends, like our mother, father, brother, and other relations. They give food, strength, beauty, health. Knowing these benefits, they did not kill cattle. The Brahmins were graceful, large-bodied, handsome and honored, very attentive to their duties, and zealous as to what should be done and what should not be done. This community thus prospered happily in the world, as long as they lived accordingly. Having seen worthless things such as wealth and well-adorned women, however, there was a change in them. The Brahmins coveted the great enjoyments of men surrounded by herds of cows, groups of beautiful women, chariots with well-trained horses, well decorated with beautiful curtains, and homes and dwelling places built to good proportion. Composing hymns, they then approached the king, Okaka, and said, "You are possessed of manifold wealth. Offer us your vast riches. Offer us your immense wealth." Then the king, the lord of chariots, persuaded by the Brahmins, performed freely in the horse sacrifice, the human sacrifice, the water rites, and the sacrifice of liquor. Having performed these sacrifices, he gave wealth to the Brahmins. Stop it for a moment. So the Brahmins taught him how to do the sacrifices to heaven, so that can get a lot of blessings. And then after that, he gave them a lot of things. Cattle, beds, garments, adorned women, well-made chariots drawn by noble horses, and covers of various embroidery, beautiful houses, well planned into apartments, filling these with various kinds of grain. Thus gave this wealth to the Brahmins. And they, having thus received wealth, desired to hoard. And being overwhelmed by covetousness, their greed increased. They composed hymns and again approached Okaka, the king. Like water, earth, gold, and corn, even so are the cattle, for they are the necessary appendage of living beings. Therefore, sacrifice your wealth, sacrifice your riches, therefore sacrifice as your wealth is immense, sacrifice as your riches are vast. Then the king, the lord of chariots, persuaded by the Brahmins, caused to be killed many 100,000 cattle in sacrifice. Neither with their legs nor with their horns do the cows hurt anybody, being obedient like lambs and yielding jars of milk. The king, seizing them by the horns, had them killed by a sword. Then the gods, ancestors, Indra, Asuras, and Rakshasas, cried out as the sword fell on the cows, "This is unjust." In ancient days there were only 3 diseases, desire, hunger, and decay or sickness or aging. But owing to the killing of animals, these sprang to 98. This old injustice has come down. The innocent cows are killed. The sacrificing priests have fallen from virtue. Thus this ancient mean practice is censured by the wise. Wherever such a practice is seen, people blame the sacrificing priests. Thus, dutiful conduct being destroyed, the workmen and traders were divided. The warriors were also widely separated. The wife disregarded her husband. The warriors, Brahmins, and others who protected their caste, disregarding their caste, came under the influence of sensual pleasure. It being thus spoken, the Brahmins of great wealth said to the Buddha, "It is amazing, Venerable Gautama. It is wonderful, Venerable Gautama." Just as if one might raise what had been overturned, or reveal what had been hidden, or point out the way to him who has gone astray, or hold up a lamp in the dark so that those who have eyes may see objects. So likewise has the truth been explained by the Venerable Gautama in various ways. Therefore we take refuge in him, his Dhamma and his Sangha. May the Venerable Gautama accept us as lay followers who henceforth have taken refuge in him for the rest of our lives. So you see the Buddha, because he is able to see the past. So these Brahmins also don't know how the Brahmins are supposed to behave, to conduct themselves, the duties of a Brahmin. So the Buddha explained in detail.